You know that cloudy water you pour down the drain every time you rinse rice? Well, for years, this internet hack has been claiming that simple kitchen scrap is actually a secret weapon for your houseplants. So today, we are going to dive deep into the world of rice water to figure out once and for all, is this a game-changing fertilizer or just a recipe for a moldy disaster?
So what's the real story here? Is this starchy liquid a free, eco-friendly food for your plants? Or is it actually a foe that's just going to invite pests and mold right into your home? Let's break it all down, starting from the very beginning.
Okay, so let's start at square one. The whole trend really begins with the simplest version of this hack, just saving the water you use to rinse your uncooked rice. No fuss, no extra steps. So what is this stuff, really? It's not just dirty water. See, when you rinse rice, you're washing away all that extra starch from the surface, sure, but you're also leaching out some of the water-soluble nutrients from the grain itself. This is the good stuff that we normally just lose right down the drain. And it turns out that water isn't just empty calories. It's got a whole cocktail of goodies in it. You've got starch, which is a carbohydrate, but you've also got nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Yep, the NPK you see on bags of commercial fertilizer. And on top of that, you're getting B vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. I mean, on paper, it looks like a pretty sweet deal for your plants, right?
But if it were that simple, this would be a very, very short explainer. The second you look this up online, you find a total battlefield of conflicting stories. So let's get into the controversy, because this is where it gets interesting.
And when I say fiercely divided, I mean for every single person who swears by this stuff, there's someone else warning you to stay far, far away. The stories people tell are passionate, and they are completely contradictory.
Here is a perfect example from a Reddit thread on this exact topic. This user had an absolutely terrible experience, and they hit on the two biggest complaints you always hear: mold growing on the topsoil and a sudden infestation of those annoying little fungus gnats.
And then, in the very same conversation, you get the total opposite. This user's family has been using it for years on more than 40 plants with zero issues, and they say the plants are thriving. So, who's right?
And this really is the heart of the debate. On one side, you have people claiming it boosts growth and improves soil health, all from a free, sustainable source. But on the other side, you've got a list of every gardener's nightmare: gnats, mold, crusty soil, and even root rot. It is no wonder people are so confused.
Now, out of this whole debate, a more intentional approach has started to pop up. Some gardeners believe the real secret isn't just using the rice water, but actually transforming it first through fermentation.
So the key thing here is that fermentation isn't just about letting it go bad. The whole idea is to cultivate beneficial bacteria. Think things like lactobacillus, which can actually make the nutrients in the water more available for the plant to use, and it improves the whole soil ecosystem.
The process itself is pretty straightforward. You just let the rice water sit for a few days until it gets a distinctly sour smell. Now, this next part is really important. You have to keep an eye on any mold that grows. White mold is supposedly okay, but any other color, black, brown, orange, means you've grown the wrong stuff, and you have to toss it out. After that, you just filter it, dilute it, and you're good to go.
But believe it or not, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. If fermenting is the next level, then what we're about to look at is basically the final boss of rice water techniques.
And this is a huge mental shift. We're not just talking about the passive nutrients that happen to be in the water anymore. Now, we are talking about actively brewing a concentrated serum of beneficial bacteria, specifically lactobacillus, to go in and inoculate your soil. It's like building an army for your soil.
Yeah, this is a multi-step process straight out of a biology lab. First, you ferment the rice wash to attract those initial microbes. Then you extract just that middle layer, and then you feed that culture with milk. See, the lactobacillus bacteria absolutely love the lactose in milk. After another week or so, the milk separates, and that yellowish liquid, the whey at the bottom, that is your final product. A potent, homemade probiotic for your plants.
Okay, we've gone from a simple kitchen hack all the way to home microbiology. I think it's time to take a step back and ask, what do the science and the experts actually have to say about all of this?
This right here is probably the single best way to understand what's really happening. Rice water isn't a complete meal for your plants. It is not a balanced all-purpose fertilizer. Its main benefit is feeding the good microbes that already live in healthy soil. So think of it as a soil amendment, not plant food.
And when you look at the actual numbers, wow, it really puts things into perspective. Just look at the nitrogen and potassium levels. Rice water has some, yeah, but it's a tiny, tiny fraction of what you'd find in good compost. It just can't replace a balanced fertilizer for those core nutrients that plants need to grow. That phosphorus range is pretty wide, but it's still not a complete solution.
Now let's talk about the risks. One organic gardening expert actually documented cases specifically in urban apartments where, light and airflow can be limited, and she found that overusing rice water led to fungus gnats and mold in a staggering 78% of the cases she saw. That is a huge risk, especially for indoor gardeners.
So if you're still determined to try it, here's the expert-approved safe way to go about it. The most important points are these: dilute it heavily. Only apply it directly to the soil, never the leaves, and do it once a month, max. And definitely don't use it on plants that like to stay dry, like succulents or cacti. And here's a critical warning: never use water that you've salted or that you've boiled the rice in. That is a surefire way to kill your plants. Which ultimately brings us to our final question. Is this kitchen scrap a secret weapon? Or is it maybe just a tempting distraction from what really matters? The evidence seems to suggest that while it might offer a little microbial boost in the right situation, it is no substitute for the fundamentals of good gardening: rich compost, proper nutrients, and the right amount of water. Maybe the real hack isn't what we add to our plants, but how well we build their foundation in the first place.